Have you ever had one of those moments where you say or do something small, something you think doesn't matter and then later wonder if it set off a ripple effect you can't undo? A single shrug, a careless no, a moment of impatience, and suddenly you're lying awake at night asking yourself, what if that one moment changed someone else's life forever? This is one of those stories. And it starts, not with drama or a big event, but with a simple ride to work. My dad works the second shift at a small factory, about 45 minutes away from our home. We only have one car, and even keeping that running sometimes feels like a miracle. A month ago, he met a father and his teenage son, maybe 16, 17, at most 20, who had just started working at the same place. Their story was tough. The dad had racked up thousands in unpaid traffic tickets and was terrified of driving, worried he'd lose his license completely. They didn't have reliable transportation. My dad, being generous, agreed to give them rides. It wasn't a huge detour, and at first, it seemed like a simple favor, but soon, the rides grew into something more. After every shift, they asked if he could drop them off at a fast food place. It added 10, sometimes 15 minutes to his trip home. My dad didn't complain much, but I could see it was wearing him down. Long hours, extra gas money, extra time. Finally, one day, he asked if they could help with gas money. He didn't demand anything specific, just left it open, hoping they'd chip in something. They said yes, but they only had Cash App. Here's where I come in. My dad came home, tired but trying to figure it out. He asked me if I could help him set up Cash App. Normally, it would have taken me 2 minutes. But that day, I wasn't in the right headspace. I was dealing with my own mental health struggles, frustrated, and tired of everything. So when he asked, I brushed it off. It sounds sketchy, I told him. I wouldn't trust it, don't bother with it. I can still hear my tone flat, dismissive, maybe even annoyed. And that was it. I didn't download the app, didn't help him set it up, didn't think twice. Days later, my dad stopped giving them rides. The gas money arrangement never worked out, and shortly after that, both the father and son quit their jobs. At the time, I barely thought about it. People come and go from jobs, right? Life moves on. But then, weeks later, I learned the fuller story. Over a casual conversation, someone mentioned the truth about that family. The father had recently lost his wife to COVID, the son had lost his mother. They were behind on rent, barely holding it together. The fast food stops weren't some frivolous luxury, they were survival. The little food they bought after work was often all they had. Cooking at home wasn't always possible, they were exhausted, short on supplies, and living day to day. And suddenly it hit me like a punch in the chest. My small refusal, that moment, of brushing off my dad's request, might have been one of the final dominoes that pushed them deeper into hardship. If I had just said yes, just taken those 2 minutes to set up the app, maybe they'd still have rides. Maybe they'd still have jobs. Maybe things wouldn't have unraveled the way they did. I can't know for sure. But the possibility eats at me. Now I replay it constantly in my head. The image of that father and son, waiting outside a factory at night. Maybe wondering how they'd get home. Maybe wondering if asking was too much. I pictured them walking away from the job not because they wanted to, but because one more door closed on them. And I wonder, did I help close that door? People tell me it wasn't all on me. They say maybe my dad was already hesitant. Maybe the family could have made different choices. Maybe the extra fast food runs weren't the smartest way to save money. Maybe, but none of that erases the guilt. None of that erases the memory of me saying no when a simple yes might have made a difference. This story lingers because it's not just about me. It's about all of us. How responsible are we for other people's lives? Where does the line fall between kindness and overextending ourselves? When does protecting our own energy and sanity slip into selfishness? And what about the moments we can never undo? Because sometimes it's not the big decisions that define us, it's the small ones. The hurried brush-offs, the annoyed dismissals, the times we could have helped but didn't. If you were me, what would you do now? Would you try to track them down, apologize, offer help? Or would you let it go, trusting that life is complicated and not everything is your fault? The suspense here isn't about a dramatic twist. It's about the unknown ripple effects of the choices we make every day. The ones that seem small but can echo far beyond what we imagine. When I shared this with friends, reactions were mixed. Some said I was being too hard on myself, that one moment doesn't define a whole family's struggle. Others reminded me that life piles up on people, and sometimes one no is enough to tip the balance. A few encouraged me to use this guilt not as punishment but as a lesson proof that kindness, even in tiny forms, can matter more than we realize, and maybe that's the truth. The real point of this story isn't whether I ruined someone's life. It's that I never want to feel this way again. I never want to ignore an opportunity to help, however small, because the cost of regret is far heavier than the cost of kindness. So I'll ask you, have you ever had a moment like this? A time when a small decision haunted you because of what it might have caused or prevented? How do you balance helping others with protecting your own mental health? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Someone out there is wrestling with the same questions, and your perspective could be the thing that helps them find peace. And if this story touched something inside you, please like, share, and subscribe. Life is messy, kindness is complicated, and sometimes the smallest choices carry the heaviest weight. Let's learn together how to carry it better.